Alex had never planned to go to Luminara Prime's beaches. His life had been a whirlwind of long work hours, endless data reports, and meetings with colleagues across star systems. Engineering interstellar vehicles was exciting, but it left him exhausted. So when a rare day off appeared on his calendar, he decided he needed a break, something simple, something away from the hum of machinery and the blinking lights of control panels. The beach called to him. He had read about it. Of course. Luminara Prime was famous for its bioluminescent waters. When the twin suns dipped low in the sky, the waves glowed with soft, blue-green light, and the sands shimmered like crushed gemstones. The planet's beauty was breathtaking, even in pictures. But Alex had always wanted to see it with his own eyes. He arrived early in the morning, before the usual tourists and researchers reached the shore. The air smelled crisp and fresh, slightly salty, carrying a hint of the strange minerals unique to the planet. He kicked off his boots and felt the soft, cool sand sink beneath his feet. For the first time in weeks, he felt the tension in his shoulders loosen. He breathed in slowly, letting the calm of the ocean and the gentle hum of waves relax him. Alex found a quiet spot near a small cluster of glowing rocks and sat down. He pulled out a tablet, intending to read some light articles about old Earth history, something simple to take his mind off work. But the waves themselves were more fascinating than anything he could find on the screen. Tiny organisms floated near the surface, catching the light like miniature stars. And the water seemed alive, with its own gentle pulse. Lost in the glow of the water, Alex barely noticed someone approaching, until a voice spoke behind him. "Mind if I join you?" Startled, Alex turned quickly. He almost dropped his tablet. Standing there was Dr. Mara Lin, his boss, the CEO of Novatech, the interstellar company where he worked. Brilliant, focused, and seemingly untouchable in the office, she now looked different somehow. The sunlight caught her hair, making it shine with hints of gold, and her eyes reflected the glowing waves. She was wearing a light summer tunic, completely relaxed, with no hint of the commanding presence she usually carried. Alex's mouth went dry. Sure," he managed, moving the tablet aside. Mara smiled politely and settled on the sand a few feet away. She seemed at ease, almost human in a way Alex hadn't seen in months of meetings. He remembered all the times she had overseen projects, made quick decisions, and solved problems that would stump entire teams. And now she was just enjoying the beach. For a few moments, neither spoke. The only sounds were the waves, soft and rhythmic, and the distant cries of glowing seabirds that hovered over the water. Alex tried to think of something intelligent to say, but his mind felt blank. Then he made a mistake. As he looked at Mara, caught in the rare moment of informal calm, his eyes lingered a little too long. She noticed immediately, raising an eyebrow with a playful smirk. "My eyes are up here," she said, catching his stare. Alex's face burned bright red. "Oh!" Mara chuckled, a light, easy sound that made the moment less awkward. "Relax. I know you didn't mean anything by it. It's just funny seeing you so flustered." Alex laughed nervously, feeling his embarrassment slowly fade. He realized how ridiculous he must look. A grown engineer, caught staring at his boss on a quiet beach. But instead of feeling punished, he felt human. Mara's teasing didn't shame him. It was a small reminder that everyone, no matter how high up in the company or brilliant in their work, was just another person with thoughts, feelings, and quirks. "You come here often?" Alex asked, hoping to steer the conversation toward safer ground. Mara shook her head. "Not really. The beaches here are beautiful, but I rarely get time off. Today, I thought I'd try something different. And you?" "Try. Same," he admitted. "I needed a break from the lab. Everything feels overwhelming sometimes." Mara nodded, as if she understood completely. "I know the feeling. Leading projects across different planets can be exhausting. But sometimes, You just need a day to let the world exist without you trying to fix it. Alex smiled at her words. It was strange and comforting at the same time. He had always admired Mara professionally, but now he saw another side of her, a side that appreciated quiet, simple moments, just like he did. They began walking slowly along the shoreline, the sand cool under their feet. Alex noticed the water glowing brighter as the twin suns climbed higher, and the waves lapped gently at their ankles. The air carried tiny sparkles of bioluminescence that clung to their clothes and hair. You know, Mara said thoughtfully, this planet has a lot of surprises. People come here expecting just a beach, but there's more than meets the eye. Look closely, and you'll see life that doesn't exist anywhere else. Alex glanced at the water, noticing tiny, floating organisms moving in sync with the waves. They're amazing, he said. Almost intelligent. Mara's eyes lit up with curiosity. Almost? She asked. Do you mean you think they could be communicating? I don't know, Alex admitted. But they move in patterns. Sometimes it looks like they respond to the waves, and sometimes, almost like, they respond to us. Mara crouched to observe them more closely. Fascinating, she murmured. I've read about creatures like this, but seeing them in their natural habitat, it's different. It's inspiring. Makes me want to study them for weeks. Alex laughed. I know what you mean, but I'm just here for a day off. Mara smiled knowingly. Sometimes, the best discoveries happen when you're not trying so hard to find them. The conversation drifted naturally. From glowing water creatures to favorite planets, childhood memories, and the little things that brought joy outside work. Alex felt a connection forming, not romantic, not inappropriate, but human. It was rare to see someone like Mara Lynn in such a relaxed, genuine way. As they walked, they stumbled upon a small cove where the glowing rocks formed strange patterns. Tiny creatures crawled over the rocks, creating soft pulses of light. Alex knelt to get a closer look. I think they're trying to communicate, he said, pointing to the rhythmic flashes. Mara crouched beside him, her eyes reflecting the glowing patterns. You might be right, she said. It's subtle, but there's definitely intelligence here. They spent hours observing, sharing thoughts and ideas, and testing small hypotheses. Alex realized that working with Mara, in this informal setting, was refreshing. There was no pressure, no deadlines, no hierarchy, just two curious minds, exploring the wonders of a living, breathing planet. By the time the suns were halfway up the sky, the beach had begun to fill with early visitors. Alex felt a pang of reluctance. He didn't want this day to end. Didn't want the return to schedules and responsibilities. But at the same time, he felt grateful. The accidental encounter with his boss had turned into a memorable adventure, a moment that reminded him why he loved exploring, observing, and learning. As they finally stood to leave the cove, Mara glanced at him with a small, genuine smile. I'm glad we ran into each other today, she said. Sometimes the universe surprises us in the best ways. Alex nodded, smiling in return. Me too. I'll remember this day for a long time. And as they walked back toward the main part of the beach, Alex realized something important. Life wasn't just about work, deadlines, or achievements. It was about moments like these, unexpected, human, and full of quiet wonder. He didn't know what the glowing creatures were trying to say, or if he would ever return to this beach. But for now, the day was perfect. And the simple act of sharing curiosity with another human being, even his boss, felt like a discovery of its own. The day had begun quietly, with Alex and Dr. Mara Lynn walking along the glowing shoreline, observing the shimmering waters and the tiny, floating creatures that seemed almost alive. But as the twin suns climbed higher in Luminara Prime's sky, the beach grew busier. Visitors from nearby research stations began to trickle in, their voices blending with the soft crash of waves and the faint, musical hum of the bioluminescent organisms. Alex found himself walking slightly behind Mara, keeping a careful distance, though he secretly enjoyed the rare chance to share a casual conversation with his boss outside the confines of Novatech. She moved gracefully along the sand, her eyes scanning the shoreline with a mix of curiosity and quiet appreciation, occasionally pausing to point at the glowing creatures or a particularly unique rock formation. For a moment, Alex's attention wavered, and his eyes drifted again toward Mara. He immediately realized his mistake when she turned sharply, raising one eyebrow, her expression teasing yet unmistakably direct. "My eyes are up here," she said with a small laugh, shaking her head in mock disapproval. Alex's face heated up instantly. "Oh, I wasn't staring. I mean, I was. But it's just..." He stumbled over his words, embarrassed. Mara laughed again, the sound gentle and warm. "Relax, Alex. I know you didn't mean anything by it. Honestly, it's kind of funny seeing you so flustered." Alex chuckled awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. The embarrassment lingered, but he felt a strange sense of relief. Mara's response was not harsh or judgmental, it was human. It reminded him that, even as the CEO of a major interstellar company, she could joke, tease, and enjoy ordinary moments like anyone else. "I guess I'm not used to seeing you outside the office," Alex admitted. "You seem different here." "Different good or different bad?" Mara asked with a playful smirk. "Different good," he said quickly. "Much more approachable, I guess." Mara smiled, her gaze softening. "I'll take that as a compliment. It's not often I get a day like this, just walking on a beach, without deadlines or reports hanging over my head. Honestly, I don't remember the last time I felt this relaxed." Alex nodded. He understood exactly what she meant. Life at Novatech was fast-paced, sometimes too fast. Deadlines were tight, meetings were constant, and the work was intense. To see Mara taking a moment to breathe, just like him, was unexpectedly comforting. They continued along the shoreline, talking casually about small things: the taste of local fruits, the shapes of the clouds over the ocean, and the tiny, glowing organisms that floated in the water. At first, Alex thought he was just being polite, engaging in small talk. But gradually, he realized he genuinely wanted to listen, to share ideas, and to explore with her. Then something unusual happened. One of the glowing creatures floated unusually close to the shore. It pulsed softly, its light blinking in a rhythm that seemed deliberate. Alex knelt down for a closer look, pointing it out to Mara. "Look at this," he said. "It's moving differently from the others, almost like it's trying to communicate." Mara crouched beside him, her eyes reflecting the gentle glow of the creature. "Fascinating," she murmured. "It's subtle, but there's definitely a pattern. You might be right." Alex's curiosity surged. He had seen bioluminescent creatures before, but none this organized or seemingly intelligent. He pulled a small scanner from his bag, a device he often used for work in the lab, and activated it. The scanner hummed softly, its lights blinking as it recorded the creature's pulses and movements. Mara leaned closer, her interest evident. "You're really enjoying this, aren't you?" she said. Alex smiled sheepishly. "I never thought I'd get excited over a little glowing creature. But there's something about it. It feels like discovering a language we've never heard before." Ander. Mara nodded thoughtfully. "Exactly. And that's why I love these moments, the small discoveries that make you see the universe differently. Sometimes, it's not the big inventions or the breakthroughs that matter most. It's these little surprises that remind us why we explore." They spent hours observing the glowing creatures, noting the rhythms and patterns. occasionally laughing at their own guesses and mistakes. At one point, Alex tried to mimic the creature's blinking with a small light on his scanner, hoping to see if it would respond. To his delight, the creature pulsed back, faster this time, as if acknowledging him. Mara's eyes widened. "It's responding," she exclaimed softly. "Alex, I think you just communicated with it." Alex's heart raced. "No way. It's probably just a coincidence. Or maybe," Mara said with a thoughtful smile, "we're witnessing something remarkable. Think about it. This little organism could have a form of intelligence, or at least awareness, and we're the first humans to see it this clearly." For the next hour, they experimented cautiously, taking turns using the scanner to blink patterns back at the creatures. Slowly, a rhythm began to emerge. The creatures seemed to understand that Alex and Mara were observers, not threats. They moved closer, forming small, glowing circles on the water's surface. Their lights synchronized in a pattern that almost looked like writing. Alex felt a surge of excitement he hadn't felt in months. Here he was, working alongside his boss in an entirely different context, exploring the unknown together. The usual office hierarchy melted away, replaced by shared curiosity and mutual respect. "This is incredible," Alex said, glancing at Mara. "I never thought a day off could feel like this, like we're discovering something completely new." Mara smiled, her expression soft and thoughtful. "It's amazing what happens when we step outside our usual routines. The universe has a way of surprising us if we're willing to notice." The conversation turned philosophical, drifting naturally from the creature's behavior to the broader questions of life and discovery. Mara shared stories of her travels to distant planets, the challenges of leading teams in uncharted territories, and the small joys she found in unexpected moments. Alex shared his own experiences, the little successes and failures in his work, and the thrill of solving complex engineering problems. As the suns reached their zenith, casting a warm glow over the bioluminescent waters, Alex realized he had lost track of time entirely. He wasn't worried about schedules or deadlines. For the first time in a long while, he felt fully present, fully alive, and fully connected to someone who had always seemed untouchable in the office. At one point, Mara paused and looked at him directly. "Alex, do you ever feel like people only see one side of you? Like they only see what you do, not who you really are?" Alex considered the question carefully. "All the time. In the office, people see the work, the results, the deadlines. They don't see the person behind it. And I guess I've never really seen that side of you either. Until today." Mara's gaze softened. "I think that's why moments like this matter. They remind us that even in a world filled with technology and schedules, we're still human. We need curiosity, connection, and wonder. Otherwise, what's the point of all this?" Alex nodded, feeling a deep resonance with her words. "I agree. And honestly, today has reminded me why I love exploring, observing, and learning. It's not just about work or recognition. It's about these little moments that make life feel real." As they continued walking along the shore, the creatures around them seemed to respond more actively to their presence. Patterns of light formed intricate shapes, some resembling spirals, others like tiny constellations floating just above the water. Alex and Mara laughed, pointed, and recorded their observations, each new discovery deepening their shared sense of wonder. By late afternoon, the beach had become lively with other visitors, families, and researchers exploring the shores. Alex felt a pang of reluctance. He didn't want the day to end. Didn't want to return to the confines of schedules and responsibilities. But at the same time, he felt grateful. This unexpected encounter with his boss had transformed a simple day off into an unforgettable adventure. As they finally began to head back toward the main path leading to the beach entrance, Mara glanced at Alex with a small, genuine smile. "I'm glad we ran into each other today," she said. Sometimes the universe surprises us in the best ways. Alex returned the smile, feeling a warm sense of satisfaction. Me too. I'll remember this day for a long time. And as they walked side by side, leaving the glowing shoreline behind, Alex realized something important. Life was not just about work, expectations, or achievements. It was about curiosity, connection, and those small, unexpected moments that made the universe feel alive. Today had been one of those moments, a day that reminded him why he explored, why he observed, and why he never stopped being fascinated by the unknown. For Alex, the glowing creatures were more than just fascinating organisms. They were a symbol of the wonder that existed everywhere, waiting to be noticed, waiting to be understood. And with Mara Lynn by his side, sharing the same curiosity and excitement, he felt ready for whatever mysteries the universe might offer next. The morning after their unexpected encounter, Alex woke with a lingering sense of excitement. The memories of glowing waves, tiny pulsing creatures, and his surprising yet enjoyable conversations with Dr. Mara Lynn made it hard to focus on anything else. Normally, he would spend his mornings reviewing reports or troubleshooting engineering systems for interstellar travel. But today, his thoughts kept drifting back to the beach. Mara had mentioned she planned to stay on Luminara Prime for a few days to recharge. To Alex's delight, she seemed open to returning to the same cove where they had observed the glowing organisms. It wasn't just curiosity that drew him back. It was the opportunity to explore and learn alongside someone whose knowledge and insight he respected deeply. By mid-morning, Alex and Mara had met near the glowing shoreline again. The water sparkled even more vividly than yesterday, reflecting the twin suns overhead and the gentle movements of the floating creatures. The beach was quieter than usual. Most tourists preferred the main, sandy stretches, leaving this secluded area for researchers and early explorers. "Ready to see if they've changed since yesterday?" Mara asked, smiling as she adjusted her lightweight visor. Alex nodded eagerly. "Absolutely. I've been thinking about the patterns we saw yesterday. Maybe today we can figure out what they mean." Mara crouched beside him, her eyes scanning the gentle ripples where the bioluminescent creatures floated. "Patterns are everywhere in nature," she said. "Sometimes they're simple, sometimes complex. But I have a feeling these little ones might be trying something more intelligent." Alex activated his scanner, and the familiar hum filled the air. As the device blinked and recorded, he noticed the creatures forming circles and spirals, then shifting into shapes that almost looked like constellations. He pointed to one group moving in a looping pattern. "Look at that," he said. "It's almost like they're signaling each other. Or us." Mara's eyes lit up. "Interesting. Maybe it's a form of communication. We should try observing and documenting their patterns over longer periods. The more we understand, the better we can interpret them." They spent hours quietly watching the creatures. Alex noted subtle changes in the timing of their pulses, while Mara hypothesized about environmental factors, the sun's position, the tide, even the presence of nearby rocks. As they worked, a natural rhythm formed between them. Alex suggested experiments. Mara added context from her experience. And together, they improvised methods to interact with the creatures without disturbing them. At one point, Alex held up a small, soft light and gently pulsed it in a sequence he had devised. The creatures responded almost immediately, repeating the pattern before branching off into a new, unexpected arrangement. "They're learning," Mara whispered in awe. "Or adapting. Either way, it's more advanced than I expected." Alex grinned. "It's amazing. I never thought a beach day could turn into a real scientific discovery." Mara laughed softly. "Sometimes the best discoveries happen when you're not expecting them. Nature has a way of showing surprises when we're paying attention." As they continued observing, a group of researchers from the main station approached the cove. Normally, Alex would have felt nervous or self-conscious, but Mara's calm presence made him feel confident. She greeted the newcomers warmly, explaining briefly what they were observing without giving away too much. The other researchers, intrigued, joined in the quiet observation, careful not to disturb the creatures. The atmosphere shifted subtly. With more eyes on the glowing organisms, patterns seemed to emerge even more clearly. Alex and Mara began recording these observations meticulously, noting that some of the creatures moved in sequences resembling basic shapes, triangles, lines, and even what looked like rudimentary spirals. "This is incredible," Alex said quietly to Mara. "It's like they're forming a language." Mara nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It could be a form of signaling. Perhaps they're coordinating their movements for some purpose, maybe even sharing information among themselves. The question is, can we understand it?" Alex considered the question carefully. "I think we can try. Maybe if we respond in kind, using the light patterns, they'll continue the interaction. It could be the first step in communication." Mara's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Then, let's try it. Carefully, methodically. Observe, respond, and record." They experimented with different sequences of light and movement. Each time, the creatures responded, sometimes repeating Alex's pattern exactly, other times modifying it in a way that suggested understanding. The air was filled with the soft, glowing rhythm of the bioluminescent beings, pulsing like a living, breathing language. Hours passed unnoticed. The twin suns moved across the sky, and the shadows of the rocks lengthened. Alex and Mara, fully immersed in their exploration, barely noticed the passage of time. They were scientists, observers, and explorers, sharing a rare moment of discovery that transcended the usual constraints of their work. At one point, Alex hesitated. "Mara, do you ever wonder if moments like this are why humans are different? Why we explore and try to understand things beyond our world?" Mara looked at him, thoughtful. "I do. There's something unique about humans, the curiosity, the drive to connect and learn. It's not just about survival or necessity. It's about wonder, imagination, and the need to understand the universe around us." Alex smiled, feeling a profound sense of agreement. "Exactly. And today feels like one of those moments. A reminder that we can still find wonder, even in places that seem ordinary at first glance." Mara nodded, her gaze returning to the glowing creatures. "And the more we explore, the more we see that intelligence and life exist in forms we might never have imagined. It's humbling and exciting at the same time." As the day progressed, they began to notice new behaviors. Some creatures clustered together, forming shapes that appeared to interact with one another. Others seemed to mimic Alex and Mara's light sequences more closely than before, as if they were responding deliberately. Alex recorded the data, his excitement growing. "This is beyond anything I expected. It's like they're trying to teach us something, or maybe they're teaching each other, and we're just lucky enough to watch." Mara smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Whatever it is, it's a reminder that learning never ends. The universe is full of surprises, and our job is to notice them, to understand them, and to appreciate them." Their shared curiosity created a sense of camaraderie. Alex felt a deep respect for Mara, not just as his boss, but as a fellow explorer, someone willing to step into the unknown with patience, intelligence, and a sense of wonder. Likewise, Mara seemed to recognize Alex's talent, not just as an engineer, but as an observer with insight and imagination. As the suns began to dip toward the horizon, casting a warm golden glow across the bioluminescent waters, the creatures began to slow their movement. The light patterns became softer, more synchronized, almost like a lullaby of glowing pulses. Alex and Mara watched in silence, appreciating the delicate beauty of the moment. "This feels peaceful," Alex said quietly. "Like the creatures are ending their day, the way we should end ours." Mara nodded, a gentle smile on her face. Yes, it's a perfect conclusion to our day of discovery. And it's a reminder that even in a universe filled with chaos, there is harmony if we take the time to observe. Before leaving the cove, Alex and Mara gathered their notes and data carefully. They knew that tomorrow would bring more opportunities to explore, but for now, it was enough to savor the discoveries they had made. The creatures' patterns, their adaptive responses, and their glowing presence had sparked a shared sense of wonder that neither would forget. As they walked back along the shore, Alex realized that this day was more than just a scientific observation. It was an experience that connected them, two humans from different parts of life, sharing curiosity, respect, and a love for the unknown. Mara glanced at him and said softly, "I'm glad we decided to return here. Today was extraordinary." Alex smiled. "It really was. I feel like I've learned more in one day than in months of work." They parted ways at the edge of the beach, promising to return tomorrow. As Alex walked back to his quarters, he felt energized, inspired, and more aware of the world's subtle beauty. The glowing creatures, their silent signals, and the shared curiosity with Mara had reminded him why he loved exploring, observing, and discovering. And deep down, Alex knew this was only the beginning. The cove held mysteries yet to be understood, patterns yet to be decoded, and a sense of wonder that would drive him, and perhaps Mara, into new adventures. For now, he carried the memory of the day like a treasure. A quiet, glowing moment on Luminara Prime's shore, where human curiosity met the brilliance of an alien world, and two minds discovered the joy of shared discovery. The morning light spilled gently across Luminara Prime's beach, reflecting off the glowing sands and the luminescent waves. Alex felt a buzz of anticipation as he made his way back to the secluded cove. The previous 2 days had been a mixture of wonder, laughter, and quiet discovery. Today promised something more. Deeper exploration of the glowing creature's mysterious behavior. Mara was already there, crouched near the water's edge, observing the creatures with the same intensity Alex had grown accustomed to. "Good morning," she said, her voice warm with excitement. "I hope you slept well." "I couldn't stop thinking about the patterns we saw yesterday." Alex grinned. "Morning. I've been analyzing the recordings from our scanner overnight. There are some sequences I think we might actually be able to understand if we pay attention." Mara nodded. "Excellent. Let's get started." They spent the first hour reviewing the glowing creature's movements. Alex pointed out repeating sequences that seemed deliberate, while Mara noted correlations with environmental changes, such as slight shifts in the tide or sunlight reflections on the water. The creatures appeared more organized than ever, forming intricate shapes and clusters that almost resembled symbols. "I think we're close," Alex said, scanning the glowing formations carefully. "If we map the patterns properly, maybe we can find a kind of rhythm or language." Mara smiled. "Exactly. But we have to be careful. We don't want to disrupt them or misinterpret their signals. Observation first, interaction second." With that understanding, they began their experiment. Using small, handheld light emitters, they sent simple patterns toward the creatures, hoping to elicit a response. At first, the organisms responded predictably, repeating Alex's sequences. But then, something unexpected happened. A larger cluster of creatures moved rapidly toward the center of the cove, forming a dense, bright circle. Their pulses quickened and intensified. Alex frowned. "They're reacting differently. Something's changed." Mara examined the pattern. "It's not threatening, but it's definitely a new behavior. They might be trying to communicate something urgent, or maybe they're testing us." Alex and Mara paused. The creature's movements became more complex, almost like a puzzle designed to challenge the observers. Alex realized that yesterday's playful interactions had grown into something far more intricate. The creatures weren't just responding, they were initiating, inviting humans to understand them on a deeper level. "Okay," Alex said carefully. We need a plan. We can't just guess at this. Let's record their sequences and look for repeated elements. If we break it down, we can respond logically. Mara nodded in agreement. Agreed. Observation first, then interaction, step by step. They worked together, Alex recording and analyzing the patterns while Mara suggested possible interpretations. At one point, they noticed a sequence that repeated every few minutes, almost like a signal with consistent intervals. This could be a form of syntax, Mara suggested. A kind of structured communication. Maybe they're grouping information into these repeated segments. Alex's eyes widened. If that's true, we might actually understand a basic form of their language. They decided to respond using light sequences that mimicked the patterns, carefully following the creature's rhythm. The first few attempts produced erratic results, with the organisms moving unpredictably. But after a few adjustments, the creatures slowed, forming more coherent patterns that mirrored the humans' signals. "This is incredible," Alex whispered. "They're actually adapting to our responses." Mara smiled, her gaze intense with concentration. "And we're learning from them. It's a two-way interaction." Hours passed as they refined their approach. Alex suggested more complex sequences, and Mara helped interpret the subtle changes in the creature's movements. Each small success brought a sense of exhilaration. The cove was filled with glowing pulses, soft laughter, and the quiet hum of shared discovery. But then a challenge arose. A sudden change in the tide created stronger currents, and some of the glowing creatures were swept toward the deeper waters. Alex noticed that certain clusters were struggling to maintain their formations. "Look," he said urgently, "the current is disrupting them. If we don't act, we might lose the patterns entirely." Mara's mind raced. "We can't physically intervene, but maybe we can guide them with our light signals. Use patterns that mimic stability, a rhythm they can follow to regroup." Alex quickly adjusted the emitter, sending a sequence that emphasized calm, slow pulses. Mara mirrored the sequence from a different angle, their lights overlapping like a carefully choreographed dance. Gradually, the creatures responded, forming clusters that resisted the pull of the current. "It's working," Alex said, relief evident in his voice. "They're following the pattern." "Thanks for watching." Mara nodded, eyes shining with excitement. "We just had to communicate the concept of stability. They understand more than we realized." For the rest of the afternoon, Alex and Mara focused on maintaining the creature's formations and interpreting their increasingly complex patterns. Some sequences seemed almost like maps, while others resembled symbolic storytelling, as if the creatures were sharing knowledge among themselves and with the humans observing them. At one point, Alex paused, looking at Mara with admiration. "I never imagined I'd be doing something like this with my boss. But it's amazing. We're learning together, not just from each other, but from them." Mara smiled warmly. "That's the beauty of exploration. Hierarchies don't matter when discovery is at stake. Curiosity and cooperation are the keys." Their shared teamwork strengthened their bond. Alex felt inspired by Mara's calm decisiveness and insightful observations, while Mara appreciated Alex's creativity, patience, and careful analysis. Together, they were able to overcome the challenge presented by the changing currents, turning a potentially disastrous moment into a triumph of communication and problem-solving. As the twin suns began to set, the creatures slowed their movements, returning to the gentle, rhythmic pulses Alex had first noticed. The cove glowed softly, reflecting the calm satisfaction of a day spent in mutual discovery. Alex leaned back on the sand, exhausted but exhilarated. Mara crouched beside him, watching the glowing water. "Yes, and today proved something important not just about them, but about us. Humans can learn, adapt, and collaborate in ways that make a difference. Intelligence isn't just about knowledge. It's about understanding, empathy, and the ability to work together." Alex nodded, feeling a deep sense of connection to both Mara and the creatures around them. I see that now. The creatures were challenging us, but they were also teaching us, and we rose to the challenge. I see that way, all the saintses. Mara smiled, her eyes reflecting the glow of the water. Exactly. That's what exploration is all about, facing challenges, learning from them, and growing in the process. Humanity's greatest strength isn't just our technology or intelligence. It's our curiosity, creativity, and willingness to cooperate. They spent the final moments of the day quietly observing the creatures. Some of the glowing clusters began to form shapes that resembled arches, spirals, and flowing patterns across the water's surface. Alex and Mara realized that these formations might not just be random, they could be the creatures' way of telling a story, of demonstrating a form of intelligence that was entirely unique to their world. This is more than just a discovery, Alex said softly. It's a reminder of why we explore, to understand, to connect, and to appreciate life in all its forms. Mara nodded. And it's a reminder that the universe is full of surprises, waiting for us to notice. Every discovery, no matter how small, brings us closer to understanding our place in it. As the suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the glowing shoreline, Alex and Mara packed up their equipment. The creatures continued their soft, pulsing light, a gentle farewell to the humans who had learned so much in a single day. Walking back along the sand, Alex felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Today had been challenging. Yes, but it had also been transformative. He had learned more about collaboration, patience, and observation than he ever could have imagined. And he had done it alongside someone who inspired him, someone who, despite being his boss, had become a true partner in discovery. Mara glanced at him with a knowing smile. Tomorrow, we might see even more. They have patterns we haven't discovered yet. And I have a feeling the universe has more lessons to teach us. Alex nodded, energized by the thought. As they left the beach, the glowing organisms faded gently with the tide, leaving behind the memory of a day full of wonder, challenge, and shared discovery. Alex knew that their adventure was far from over. The creatures had tested them, guided them, and taught them, and in return, Alex and Mara had risen to the challenge, proving that human curiosity, intelligence, and cooperation could unlock mysteries even in the most unexpected places. Today had been a triumph not just of observation, but of spirit. Humanity, Alex realized, had a remarkable ability to connect with each other, with the universe, and with life, in all its wondrous forms. And with that realization, he felt ready for whatever the next day on Luminara Prime might bring. The morning air on Luminara Prime carried a gentle warmth, the twin suns casting golden light over the shimmering beach. Alex arrived early, eager to continue the work he and Dr. Mara Lin had begun. The previous days had been filled with wonder, discovery, and unexpected challenges. But today felt different. Today, he sensed, they might finally understand more of what the glowing creatures were trying to convey. Mara was already there, kneeling near the water's edge, observing the creatures with focused attention. She looked up as Alex approached, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Good morning, Alex. Are you ready for another day of discovery?" "Absolutely," Alex said, feeling a thrill of anticipation. "I've been thinking about the patterns we've recorded. There might be something larger here, a sequence or rhythm that connects all of them." Mara nodded thoughtfully. "Exactly. Yesterday we saw how they adapt and respond, but today we need to look at the bigger picture. Let's pay attention to their interactions, the way clusters form and merge. There might be a story hidden in their movements." They began by reviewing their recordings from the previous day, noting patterns, shapes, and sequences. Some formations appeared almost like constellations, others like waves frozen in motion. The creatures' pulses were rhythmic, deliberate, and, increasingly, complex. Alex felt a mix of excitement and humility. He had seen intelligent behavior in simulations and robotics before, but this was living, organic intelligence. It was adaptive, dynamic, and alive in a way that no machine could replicate. As the morning passed, Alex and Mara experimented carefully with light signals, trying to mirror the creature's patterns without overwhelming them. At first, the responses were subtle small pulses, slight adjustments in movement, but gradually, the creatures began forming larger patterns, combining their clusters into sweeping arcs and spirals that stretched across the shallow water. "This is incredible," Alex whispered. "It's like they're telling a story, or maybe sharing a concept. Look at how coordinated they are." Mara's eyes were wide with fascination. "Yes, they're intelligent in a way we rarely witness, not just reactive, but creative and deliberate. They're expressing something, and we need to pay close attention." They spent hours observing, recording, and interacting, carefully decoding sequences and responding in kind. Each success built a sense of shared accomplishment and wonder. Alex felt a deep connection not only with Mara but with the creatures themselves. It was a quiet, profound reminder of the power of curiosity and patience, of approaching the unknown with respect and care. Around midday, the twin suns were at their highest, casting shimmering reflections on the glowing sand. Alex noticed a cluster of creatures moving toward the deeper waters, forming a pattern that looked unlike any they had seen before. It was intricate, almost like a combination of symbols and rhythmic pulses. "Look at that," he said, pointing. "They're forming a chain, something connected, continuous. Maybe they're showing a relationship, or explaining a concept to each other." Mara knelt beside him, examining the formation closely. "Or perhaps they're inviting us to understand a higher-level pattern, something bigger than a single sequence or cluster. They're teaching us to see connections, to recognize relationships between movements." Alex nodded, feeling a sense of awe. "It's amazing and humbling. We're just observers, yet they're letting us witness this intelligence." Encouraged by Mara's words, Alex carefully responded with a light sequence that mirrored the creature's movements, emphasizing connections between clusters. Slowly, the creatures adapted, expanding their formations and pulsing in a coordinated rhythm that spanned the entire cove. Alex felt a thrill of understanding, small, but real. "They're teaching us to see patterns," he said softly. "It's like they want us to understand their logic, their world." Mara smiled. "And we're learning from them, not just about them, but about how to approach life, curiosity, and intelligence. Observation, patience, and respect. These are skills as valuable as any engineering technique." As the day progressed, the creature's behavior became increasingly sophisticated. Some clusters formed shapes reminiscent of natural phenomena, waves, spirals, and branching lines, while others appeared to simulate movement patterns that resembled the paths of celestial bodies. Alex and Mara marveled at the complexity, noting each formation in their logs. "This feels like a dialogue," Alex said quietly. "Not words, not sounds, but a conversation in movement and light." Mara nodded. "Exactly. And it reminds us of something important. Humanity's curiosity and intelligence are meant to observe, learn, and connect. These creatures are challenging us to think beyond our usual perspective." During the afternoon, a gentle wind swept across the beach, stirring the glowing water slightly. The creatures adjusted their formations in response, demonstrating remarkable adaptability. Alex realized that understanding them required more than analysis. It required empathy and intuition. He began to anticipate the creature's responses, working in harmony with Mara to send signals that guided and encouraged the organisms. At one point, Alex paused and looked at Mara. "You know, this experience is teaching me something about ourselves. Humanity has the ability to connect, not just with each other, but with life in forms we can barely imagine. Curiosity, cooperation, and patience are as important as knowledge. Mara's expression softened. That's why I love moments like this. Technology, reports, and deadlines matter. Yes, but they are not the core of what makes us human. Connection, exploration, and understanding, that's what defines us. The sun began its descent, casting a warm, golden glow over the cove. Alex and Mara decided to observe one final sequence of movements before leaving. The creatures, seemingly aware that their day was ending, pulsed with a soft, rhythmic glow. They formed interconnected spirals and arcs, as if celebrating the shared learning experience with their human observers. Alex watched in awe. They're saying goodbye, in their own way. Or maybe they're showing gratitude for our attention and respect. Mara nodded, her eyes reflecting the glowing water. Perhaps, but more importantly, they've reminded us why we explore, why we observe, and why we care about understanding. They've shown us that intelligence and beauty exist in unexpected forms, and that we have the ability to recognize and learn from it. As they packed their equipment, Alex felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The day had been challenging, enlightening, and deeply inspiring. He had learned more about collaboration, empathy, and observation than he had in months of office work. And he had done it alongside someone who had started as his boss, but had become a true partner in exploration. Walking back along the beach, Alex reflected on everything they had experienced. The glowing creatures were more than just a scientific curiosity. They were a reminder of life's wonder and complexity. They challenged humans to think differently, to approach problems with patience, and to recognize that intelligence could take many forms. Mara glanced at him and said softly, "Alex, I think today proves something important. Human curiosity, ingenuity, and empathy are our greatest strengths. The universe has so much to teach us, if we only take the time to notice." Alex nodded, feeling a surge of inspiration. "I see that now, and I think this experience will change the way I approach life, work, and exploration. We can achieve incredible things when we work together, pay attention, and respect the world around us." The glowing organisms pulsed softly as the suns dipped below the horizon. The gentle waves reflected the colors of the sky, gold, blue, and hints of green. Alex and Mara sat on the sand for a moment, taking in the beauty and calm. "This day will stay with me forever," Alex said quietly. "It's more than just discovery. It's perspective." Mara smiled. "Exactly. And the best part is, the universe will continue to offer new perspectives, new mysteries, and new opportunities to learn. We just have to stay curious." As darkness gently fell, the bioluminescent creatures continued their soft, pulsing light, a quiet tribute to the humans who had observed, learned, and connected. Alex felt a deep sense of gratitude for the creatures, for Mara, and for the lessons of patience, curiosity, and cooperation. Walking back toward their quarters, Alex realized that this adventure had transformed him. He had learned that life's greatest rewards were not just achievements or recognition, but moments of genuine discovery, collaboration, and connection. Mara glanced at him with a warm, knowing smile. "Tomorrow, we might find even more. The universe is full of surprises, Alex, and together, we can uncover them." Alex nodded, feeling inspired and confident. "I can't wait. There's so much more to learn, and we're just beginning." As they left the glowing beach behind, Alex carried with him a new understanding of the world and of humanity. The glowing creatures had taught him that life, intelligence, and connection could take forms beyond imagination. Mara had shown him that collaboration and respect made discovery richer and more meaningful. And together, they had proven that curiosity, patience, and empathy could bridge the gap between human and alien, observer and observed. The suns disappeared beyond the horizon, leaving the gentle glow of the water to light the night. Alex knew that this experience on Luminara Prime would remain with him forever, not just as a scientific achievement, but as a story of discovery, connection, and the beauty of seeing the world through new eyes. The adventure had ended for now, but the lessons, the perspective, and the inspiration would last a lifetime. Humanity's ability to explore, to connect, and to learn was limitless. And Alex felt ready to embrace every new mystery the universe had to offer. For Alex, Mara, and the glowing creatures of Luminara Prime, the day had been a triumph, a celebration of curiosity, intelligence, and the profound beauty of shared discovery.